and Tourism Committee of the City Council. This is February the 25th. Is that correct there, Lisa? Very good there. Joined by Councilmember Joe Buscaino, the great councilman of the 15th District. Mr. Bonin will join us momentarily. And if we could ask that our legislative analysts give us a report on item number 1.
The Board of Harbor Commissioners submits for council approval the first amendments to 6 personal services contracts for on-call engineering services. This is with ACOM CH2M Hill Engineers, SOMAS, Moffitt and Nichol, DR Consultants and Designers, and URS Corporation Americas. These first amendments would increase compensation authority for each of the contracts, which are providing engineering support for the Harbor Department's Capital Improvement Program, Maintenance Improvement Program, and Aesthetic Mitigation Program.
I'm going to ask Mr. Buscaino if he had any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning. I wanted to touch on this item, and I know it's important for the Port of Los Angeles to remain the #1 cargo container terminal in the country, and this capital improvement program and ensuring that the port continues to invest, $1 million a day, if you look at the numbers throughout the year, on the infrastructure to remain competitive and to make sure that we continue to be the international trade gateway for cargo. But we also need to be the international trade gateway for people as well. How does this, approving this item will impact the developments of the waterfront, both at the San Pedro and the Wilmington plan?
Good morning, council members, and greetings from the Harbor. I'm Michael Christensen, the Deputy Executive Director for Development for the Harbor Department. And Councilmember Buscaino, this is the basic tool we use to augment staff. We're quite proud at the Harbor Department that we still have full service staff for design of all elements of the harbor capital improvements, both the freight, cargo, and also the waterfront development. This is the pool of consultants we draw from to work on virtually every element, including the downtown harbor, which will be finished this summer, and then any engineering that would be involved. Sampson Way 7th Street was done by the consultants out of this team, and they stand on the ready to do anything that would be needed. It's part of the ports of call development, along with all of the container terminals.
So if we don't approve this item, that will hinder the progress of not only the infrastructure improvements on our cargo terminals, but also the infrastructure improvements for the waterfront redevelopment.
That is correct, sir.
Fantastic. Thank you, Michael. And Mr. Chair, I ask for an aye vote on this.
Thank you very much. Just ask that it's the waterfront. Is it the waterfront? So with these consultants, if the water goes out to the ocean, and then if it goes over south towards Long Beach and up the LA River to Griffith Park, could these consultants do everything in the Griffith Park?
We could try, Councilman.
You could try. And you know what? The good thing is, because years ago under Mr. Bradley's administration, the Harbor Department did a wonderful thing for wetlands, but they did it in San Diego County, which was nice. But now there's wetlands throughout that we're thinking of. I know in Mr. Bonin's district. So do we look within our own, too, would be good. Any questions, Mr. Bonin?
No, I want the wetland money, too.
All right, good. So thank you so much. I vote on this here. On the next items, these are all these good trade agreements. Do we have any questions? Because we can take them all together.
This is item 2 and item 3. One is an operating agreement with Evolution Enterprises Holdings Incorporated for the operation under Foreign Trade Zone Rules, Site 35 in La Puente, California. The agreement would have a term of 5 years with 3 renewal options for 5 years each for a potential maximum term of 20 years. And the other one is an operating agreement again with H. Ravel Incorporated doing business as Nova Container Freight Station for the operation of Site 36, which is located in Carson, California. And again, this would have an initial term of 5 years with 3 renewal options for 5 years each.
Committee's okay with these? We would just like to direct the department to do outreach to the local newspapers in these towns and others about this important factor, whether it's the Riverside Press Telegram or whether it's the, I don't know what the Carson paper
Carson
is.
as well.
Yeah, whatever it is. But also, they do a big one, how the Port of Los Angeles is in your neighborhood on trade zones. So do that.
Mike DiBernardo with the Port of Los Angeles. We do have one clerical typo error on Nova Container Freight Station. We need to make sure the article reads, instead of Article 1 in the environmental section, it should be Article 3. So I'd like to make that note.
All right, that's okay with us, so we could do the Article 1, Article 3. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's Mike.
So approved unanimously. Next item.
Under item 4, the Board of Harbor Commissioners submits for approval a replacement permit for WWL Vehicle Services Americas, which currently occupies berths 195 to 200A at the port, where it continues to operate its vehicle cargo terminal while on holdover status. The proposed replacement permit would have a term of 10 years, beginning January 1, 2012, with one option to renew for an additional 5 years.
Great. And just a technical question. Does Gillette do any shipping into the Port of Los Angeles? Never see three bearded men from the port. Just concerned, a little protest. We're good with this. Mr. Buscaino saying, if you want to mention anything for a moment, just how important this is, please.
Yeah, I'm Jack Hedge. I'm the Director of Real Estate for the Harbor Department. This is Ed Robles. Ed is the property manager that worked on this project and worked on this important deal with WWL. And I'll give Ed a quick minute just to give you an overview of the project and the importance of it.
Thanks, Jack.
Yeah, the importance of WWL to the harbor is that it represents a diversification of the product that comes into the harbor. It is our only ro-ro, what we call a ro-ro, which is a roll-on, roll-off. We import vehicles, and they come in a giant floating parking lot, and they actually roll them off onto the lot. They prep them, get them ready, and then they ship them by rail to other parts of the country. They employ about 250 people. Of the 250, 235 are union members, and the majority come from the cities of San Pedro, Wilmington, and Carson, and Long Beach.
Okay, San Pedro's part of Los Angeles, though. I just want to make that. I don't want them to run away from us. I remember that story. Hey, do ships bring vehicles to Oxnard? Is that what is the biggest port in Southern California for vehicles?
LA is a large port for vehicles, so is Long Beach. We're a big import port for Nissan and their Infiniti brand. Long Beach is a big port of import for Mercedes-Benz. Oxnard brings in Honda. So does San Diego. So all the Southern California ports are big auto import.
And very competitive, but good.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I can, we heard not too long ago about the tray pack and the on-dock automation, on-dock rail, and with the automation components attached to it. And then Mr. Bonner and I had directed the port staff to report back on how automation is going to ultimately impact the jobs at the waterfront, and we're going to be hearing that soon. In meeting with some of the tenants the last couple of weeks, automation is coming. We know that. The fact that we're investing in these auto terminals, I believe the port needs to do a little bit more due diligence in continuing to bring this type of business onto our port to make up for the automation component, specifically the tray pack jobs that may be lost. And also, in addition to these auto terminals, also look at the port also needs to be mindful, perhaps even encourage more break bulk facilities to come in to make up for those types of loss of jobs and automation. Can you give me your thoughts on that?
You're absolutely right. These are more job dense, especially in light of coming automation on containerized cargoes. Non-containerized cargoes do tend to create that job density and become opportunities. We are aggressively approaching other facilities like this. Extending the term of WWL is an important step in that effort. We're also negotiating with other terminal leases for new break bulk facilities, project cargoes to come in, which are oversized cargoes that can't be containerized, and making quite a few efforts in that regard.
Thanks, Jack.
It helps diversify our revenue stream and helps keep jobs in the Harbor Department.
Very good. Mike, do you want to?
Additionally, on a little longer term, I've been tasked with assessing all our underutilized property, and we have what I think is a crown jewel of property out in East Wilmington that just needs a little attention and development. And we could generate good wage-paying jobs in that area.
Yes.
Correct.
Thank you.
And Councilman, I think you've hit on a strategically significant issue for us. We've also identified that as going after break bulk and looking at the diversification of our cargo base. Given the changes in the Pacific trade on the containers and the competition we're facing, it would be wise to do that. So I think you've got a very good point. Also, our commissioners and senior staff had concluded a South American trade mission a few months ago. They're going with the mayor to Mexico next week. And a big part of that is looking at non-container trade traffic that can do just exactly what you're talking about for jobs and for diversification at the port.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Bonner?
I'm good.
Mr. Cruz, what's the life of a container? When I see on the Hollywood Freeway a container truck, and I wonder, what's the life? How many times do you think it's been across the ocean, wherever it comes from?
It's a good question, Councilmember. It's just a handful of times, really, by the time it makes the trip. And it depends on the commodity as well. If it's moving high-value merchandise, it's got to be a fairly new container. Sometimes some of the older stuff or scrap can go in an older container, but it's just not that many trips before it gets used up.
Really, like 20 trips or something like
I
that?
don't think it makes anywhere near that many trips, no.
Back and forth? No, really, that's amazing. Okay, thank you so much. Next item.
We do have
Approval on that.
we do have another amendment that we need to make.
Oh, and this one?
Typo in this one as well.
Well, no, you got to learn how to shave and type, brother. Okay.
There was a typo in this as well, and it's the same item as before. In the environmental section, it refers to the wrong article. It refers to Article 2. We need to refer to Article 3.
Make sure the legislative analyst has that for correction. Thank you.
Thank you.
We vote unanimous on that. Next item.
Under item 5, the Board of Harbor Commissioners submits a permanent board order and the corresponding ordinance to amend Port Tariff Number 4, Section 23, and the amendments would upgrade or enhance the financial incentives that are being offered by the port to encourage ocean common carriers to bring a higher volume of containers to the port.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning again, Mike DiBernardo, Port of Los Angeles. So this is a program where we're trying to encourage additional container volumes through the Port of LA. And by doing so, we're looking at calendar year 2013 volumes and comparing that to calendar year 2014. If in any of the shipping lines, and this is an incentive to shipping lines, if they bring more cargo to the Port of Los Angeles, we're going to pay them an incentive of $5 up to 100,000 containers and $15 for everything over that. So we feel that this may generate an additional 575 incremental TEUs through the Port of Los Angeles, which could bring approximately $23 million in revenue and cost us about $5.4 million in order to do this little program. So it's a one-year program, and again, it's looking at the calendar year volume. So this would be paid out in 2015 after we looked at the 2014 volumes.
Mr. Bonner? Have any questions? Michael?
No.
Mr. Buscaino?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Great work to the Port of Los Angeles. In such a competitive environment with ports across the country, we do everything we can to ensure these types of programs exist. And I see ourselves competing more with our neighbors in Long Beach in light of what's happening at the Middle Harbor there. This is good work. Let's continue and hoping this works. I know we're looking at a net increase here. And if it impacts jobs and it encourages shipping lines to come to the port, something that I'm in favor of.
Let me just ask a technical question. I don't know the cruise business, but cruise business has changed for a number of reasons. I did see an ad in the newspaper in New York said, come to New York tax-free. So what if the Port of Los Angeles said to cruise business, come to Los Angeles, I don't know how much they pay to dock. What do they pay to dock?
Well, there's a per passenger fee that we have.
What if we eliminate that fee for a year and just try to get the business?
Well, we actually have another program that we're working on with the cruise lines to incentivize them to come here as well, and that's through contracts, through permits with them, and also they have some incentives that are built into those permits. So
But what if free is a thing understood around the world. Free means no charge.
Yeah, I'm
mean,
not
I'm
sure
just
what New York's doing, but we do have some expenses at our terminal there that we need to
Okay,
maintain, so.
but figure that out, Joe.
Yeah, it's a great suggestion, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman.
just
Chairman Labange, we have been very concerned about the erosion of cruise business. We're down to about 500,000 passengers. But one of the things that's going to happen at the Trade Mission in Mexico next week is to go after the number one issue that we have to deal with in cruise, and that's destinations. Refreshing them, ensuring the safety of passengers going there, because that's been the number one issue.
Right.
Right.
I think,
Our public safety.
Public safety has been, and so that's going to be a big
Personal
part
safety,
of what
yeah.
the mayor's mission next week is going to be
Right.
in Mexico.
Right.
If we can succeed in that, we think a lot of that business will come back.
But also, I would love to, I would love to go through San Francisco Bay underneath the Golden Gate Bridge. I think 1 million people would. Los Angeles and San Francisco. I'd love to go to Seattle and have some of that good fish they have at Pike's Market.
We get good fish.
I think there's a market to advertise, especially as they move the ships from the Bahamas to Alaska or whatever it is. So just think about that. And I know there's nothing like free. At least you get back going and then, see what it goes. Because if you're giving the money away for containers, give a little money away to people. That's you're a San Pedro guy, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. We have good fish in San Pedro.
I know that, but I wanted to hear it.
Just do want to note, I think a huge draw for San Pedro as a destination is the work that Mr. Buscaino is doing on the waterfront.
Right.
As San Pedro is more of an actual destination that people want to go to,
Thank you.
then that'll be as much of an incentive, I think, as anything else. You guys have any typos on this one?
Anyway, I'm sorry.
Any typos on this one?
No.
Because I was going to call Mr. Martell forward and ask him why we didn't have this problem with typos before he came on board.
Very good.
But, we are doing some things at the cruise line, and one of the other things that Mr. Christensen had mentioned is that we're also going to talk to Mexico about putting a pier down in Cabo, because today as ships go to Cabo, they actually have to tender them in on little boats. So if there was a pier there, that would be more enticing for people to get off in Cabo. So a little bit of joint marketing with Mexico on trying to make
And I know that Congresswoman Hahn is working on allowing cruise ships to visit West Coast ports only. I know that's more of an act of Congress that's going to take.
That is correct. That is
They are
correct. There's
working
the
at-
Jones Act.
The Jones Act,
The
right.
Jones Act issue, yes, where a foreign flag ship would have to make a visit to a foreign port before coming back to a U.S. port.
So
Chairman Labange, you might be interested that we do offer cruises out of Los Angeles to San Francisco right now,
Right.
With
Okay,
a
good.
stop in
with stops
Canada,
in
Vancouver.
Vancouver, right.
well, not only, it's all California, San Francisco, Santa Barbara, San Diego, and they do have to
They-
make one
it's
stop
not-
in Ensenada.
it's-
But those cruises are offered now. They're becoming much more popular.
Yeah, I think so. People are looking for activity. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And,
Thank you.
We all support this here. Next item.
Thank you.
Under item 6, the Board of Harbor Commissioners submits a supplemental lease agreement, number 2, to the harbor lease with U.S. General Services Administration for the use of harbor property on Terminal Island by the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Laboratory. And this agreement would extend the lease term by 12 months to expire on March 22 of this year, and would incorporate increased rental rates.
Hi.
Commissioner, Councilman, again, Jack Hedge, Real Estate, Port of LA.
Thanks,
If you have any
Jack.
questions about this, this is just a simple lease extension accommodating Customs and Border Patrol in a former federal building that is now the property of the Harbor Department, while the Customs and Border Patrol completes construction of a new facility that they'll be relocating to.
Property of the Park Department?
Property of the Harbor Department.
Harbor Department. Yeah, okay, good. Got it. Okay, good. Joe, any questions?
No, thank you.
Good. Okay.
There is a typo. Same typo as before.
Mr. Martell,
In the environmental section, should say Article 3.
Was it a Remington or a, what kind of typewriter were you using to type?
I don't know what we're
type?
using to type, but
Okay.
we'll find out.
Got it. Okay. We'll correct it. And noted that this is the highest number of typos we've had on any report, not reflective
Our
of...
new legislative aid is
Oh,
finding them.
wow, now, oh, God.
Not saying
Okay.
they weren't there before.
All right,
we're just
okay.
finding them now.
But he caught him, so that's what happened. He caught him. Good. So ordered. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Take care. Michael, good to see you. Thank you so much. Have a good ride down the San Pedro Freeway back to the harbor. Okay. Next item.
Under item 7, we have the city attorney's reports. with a draft ordinance and a revised draft ordinance. And we have convention center reports regarding revisions to the governance structure of the Los Angeles Convention Center Department.
Hello, Ms. Robert.
Good morning.
Hello.
Morning.
Want to give us a little report?
I'm Terry Martin Brown, Assistant City Attorney. If you have any questions regarding this report, I'd be very happy to answer them. I don't want to start off by boring you.
No, but I read part of the report, and what I truly would like to do, I like to walk the convention center with you before we consider. I want to walk with this report in my hand and come up with questions or ideas. How does this work? How's this new relationship with AEG working? What are we doing if football doesn't come? Which, they're going to make a decision. They have to make a decision on this agreement by next fall. Is that correct?
March. There's an NFL rule. Excuse me, I'm Bud Overham, your clean-shaven general manager.
Very good, and knows how to spell.
The contract with the city is until October of 2014.
This is this fall. But I felt, members, reading the report, there's some extensive changes. I want to just get a total feel to make sure when we bring it forth to council, this is the right move, which sounds like the right move, but I want to make sure it is on the tourism promotion, which is so key, and other things there. Joe, do you have any questions?
No, I think it's a good idea. You want to hold it in committee?
Yeah. But also in using the opportunity to promote the infrastructure, I know previously, and one thing I'm very proud of, I've helped the tour business in getting these buses around town and the double-decker buses and the Wayfinder information there. And I know some of these concepts, what do you want to visit, what you do, the connection to LA Live, which is so important. This is a big destination. And also with MTA, the Expo line, you can stay in Los Angeles without renting a car and go to places. You can stay on the Metro Red Line or downtown and get to Exhibition Park, get to the variety of museums, come to LA Live, come to the Civic Center, which I don't think we promote. This is the largest civic center outside our nation's capital, from the water and power all the way down through the federal buildings. And there's a lot of interesting things to see here. If we wanted to promote that in such a way, connecting Alvera Street and also Union Station.
Yes, sir, and I agree with you totally. You have a copy also in your packet of our action plan, and our action plan talks about the importance of mass transit to the convention center, that you can walk out our front door and go down to the Space Museum, go down to Exposition Park and all the facilities there. You can walk out our door, get on 7th and Fig and go to Hollywood. You can get on the Red Line and go to Universal Studios.
Right.
All of that's just minutes away on the Red Line, the Blue Line, the Exposition Line.
Right.
So we are really in the action plan promoting this as a very transit-oriented sports and entertainment district.
Right, and the Pico station there is a Pico station, I think, and I like Governor Pico. He's a good governor here, but maybe it needs to be, and that's why I want to walk around and say, okay, why isn't this the Staples Center or the Convention Center or the LA Live or whatever name we come up with to really promote it and go, because that's the thing that makes things happen when people know and there's a terminology that people understand in the business, and I want to make sure everything's coordinated on that. Also, the Los Angeles Tourism Board, which, you know what their former name was? LA Inc., you ever hear that?
Inc.
Yeah, and you know what they get a lot of calls for?
For tattooing.
Tattooing. So we don't want to tattoo that. We want to tattoo people's heart and souls into the love of Los Angeles and the surrounding areas. Let me ask another question, and I know Deputy City Attorney, I don't know if you're in this here, but Mr. Overham, our tourism that we promote is here in Los Angeles City, but there's 88 cities in the county, and I'm sure probably 35 of them have tourist boards, West Hollywood, Santa Monica, Long Beach. Is there any coordination? Because
Well, Patty's also here from LA Tourism, and
Patty Magetta.
LA
Patty.
Tourism is a countywide organization, so they work very closely with all of the entities within the county and promote.
Right.
Even as you and I well know, Universal Studios isn't technically in the city of LA, but
Right.
we think of Santa Monica as one of our nicest suburbs, and they have the beach, but they clearly, LA Tourism looks at the entire county, the entire region from a tourism marketing point of view.
So I want to make sure we get that. So is there any time limit on this, Mr. CAO? Or?
I would ask that. This all started with your committee.
Right.
A year ago?
Council members, I maybe I spoke too hastily, but would you like me to just give you a quick briefing on what our report addresses and the draft ordinance that the council asked us to provide?
Got it? Okay, yeah, sure, thanks.
What this draft ordinance does, it's been revised, but basically what it does is it converts the Board of Convention Center Commissioners from an advisory commission to an authoritative commission. They would, in a sense, run the department from now on. They would direct the operations of AEG, our current transitional private manager. They would advise and direct the executive director, Mr. Overham to my left. They would oversee the city's contract with the Los Angeles Tourism and Conventions Board. They would report to this council. This ordinance also modifies the discount policy or codifies a discount policy that's been in place for many years informally, and it would codify the booking policy and basically make the basic change allowing the LA Tourism and Conventions Board to book all events beyond 12 months. And the center staff, or AEG, private management company, to book events within a 12-month period, as opposed to, it was formerly 24 months. So that's essentially what it does. The aspect of the football team coming to LA and all that really isn't before you in this matter.
I see some of the notes, though, that discuss that. That's why I want to know what, is the vision if football doesn't come? And which, we'd have to make within a year, but I'm sure you're thinking about that right now.
Yes, sir, and the council has acted on what's now referred to as Plan B.
Right.
And Plan
Omaha! Get it? He doesn't get it. He don't watch football.
I get it.
Don't get a little audible.
But Plan B is, I think, a well-thought-out plan from the CAO, the CLA, that came to the council of what we would do if there isn't the NFL. And
Right.
It talks about having a design competition, of having 3 to 5 architectural firms for a nominal fee, provide some concepts of what could be done. We had ULI come in and do a study. We know the kinds of things. And then, so they would do the design competition for different concepts of how to approach it, and then the CAO has done a report on how to finance, because South Hall is totally paid for. West Hall is totally paid for. South Hall only has about 10 years left to go on the bonds, and so we could, basically like refinancing your home, we could pull money out of the convention center, do $300 million worth of still building the new hall to connect South Hall to West Hall,
Right.
rewrapping the thing. We could do that and not increase our debt service payments, extend our term, but not increase. So you have before you, not this item, as the city attorney said,
Right.
that is separate from the governance issue, but you do have, I think, from the CLA and CAO, a well-thought-out Plan B if Plan A doesn't happen by October.
I also wanted to make sure the council realizes, too, this is now, it's not like water and power, but it is more like, as far as the change in governance. It's not independent like water, power, or the board or is.
No, it is not.
Yeah.
General funds are still being used to operate the convention center department.
Right, but I want to be sure you understand the function of this process. So our next meeting, Madam CLA,
Would be the second Tuesday of the month, the next
be,
month.
will be in D.C., so we're going to go, not this one, but it'll be the second meeting in March. We won't have a first meeting, I believe. That's correct.
So
So-
6 weeks from today?
6 weeks. Is that a big problem?
No, it's just, again, there's nothing in the governance ordinance that speaks to football stadium.
I got all that. I just want to, this is a big change, so I want to walk around it. I did, when I was at the I was at the art show. I met the new person from AEG, and I wanted to walk around, and I wanted to, get a feel for that, and all of a sudden we're here today, and so I just felt incumbent that I should do that, because this is a big change, and I want to, so I could express to our colleagues on the council that this is the right thing to do, which I believe it is, but I want to make sure it's the right thing in all ways. Michael?
Thank you. I actually appreciate holding this in committee. Nothing wrong with the proposal. It's just we didn't get the notes from staff until quite late last night, so I haven't had time to digest this, and I want to do some due diligence on it. Because it really is a fundamental rethinking of the role of the commission, and that's probably a very good thing. It's a very different job for the commissioners. I mean, there's some of them who may not have signed up for this new role. It will be much more probably akin to the workload of a member of a commission for one of the proprietaries, because it becomes much more of an actively engaged management role.
All of our commissioners, by the way, are now Garcetti appointees and confirmed.
There's 7 commissioners there. 5.
5, and all 5 are new Garcetti appointees.
Oh, there are 5. Was there ever a larger number of commission there?
Not on that particular commission. There is the
Yeah, I knew-
Joint Powers Authority,
Got it,
which
okay,
is a
got it,
15-person
That's where I got the
commission
numbers
It
from.
has 15.
Yeah.
at the
Got it.
Convention Center.
Did want to, one, Mr. Overham, you committed what I consider to be a cardinal sin. You mentioned that city that my district surrounds without mentioning Venice Beach. I do not like references just to that other city.
Surf City.
I understand that
City will always be
sometimes the
referred-
Convention and Visitor, LA Inc. needs to mention that city, but we always try to promote Venice Beach more because it's ours.
Absolutely.
Wanted to make a note. We kind of joked about tattoos a second ago, but we actually have some pretty big tattoo expos and conventions that we hold at the Convention Center, don't we?
Yes, sir.
Because LA is actually a pretty big center for the tattoo industry, and I actually think we probably generate some good revenue from having those
And
businesses there.
some phenomenal art. I mean, the
Yeah.
tattoos you see there are phenomenal.
Yeah. What are sort of our big gets that we're still trying to get for conventions? Obviously, Comic-Con is one of them. What are some of the others?
Well, and I was just talking to Patty in the back of the room. Comic-Con is obviously the kind of things we'd like to do. And if we can't get Comic-Con, we want to grow something like WonderCon, which is also owned by Comic-Con, but is
Yep.
a show that we could take and grow. We're looking more, I was just talking to Patty in the back of the room about going after some Hispanic market. A lot of the Hispanic trade is shows are more gatewayed out of Miami because of Miami's geographic proximity to Central and South America. But if we could pull some of that Hispanic market in, that would be very good for us. And of course, in terms of overall tourism, it's China, China, China. You know, that's where we're really seeing our numbers jump up. That's why I was happy to see what you're talking about here at the airport and tonight on the port. Would really like to see that cruise terminal grow also, so that we can continue to capture that market.
Are we hearing any concern about longer-term bookings from folks who have some worries about potential construction if we do get a football team?
Yes, we do. There was an article in the LA Times today, matter of fact, a very favorable article on the front page above the fold, for those of us who read newspapers instead of go online, but it's above the fold in the business section, talking about how well the convention center is doing on booking stuff, and fortunately on a subsequent page talks about some of the concerns of construction, because we have construction challenges either way. If we build a football stadium, then we have construction challenges, and if we don't build a football stadium under Plan B, we still have construction. So on the one hand, that hits us. On the other hand, tourism is a booming industry throughout the state. San Diego has a bigger construction project going on, and Moscone has a construction project going on, and Anaheim has a construction. So it does hurt us, but because tourism is so booming, everybody is doing construction, so we kind of can cope with that. They're also concerned about the Crosstown Connector. We all know that the Crosstown Connector is a very good thing, but you've had speakers come here and talk about, does the Crosstown Connector hamper our relationship with our access to the Bonaventure, which is our biggest booking hotel?
Although in the long run, that's going to be a huge boon
Absolutely.
to tourism here in Los Angeles.
It goes back to being the most transit-oriented convention center. You can come from Pasadena right straight through and get to the convention center on a one-seat ticket. So
Absolutely. I mean, you'll be able to do it from not just Pasadena, but from Long Beach, from Santa Monica. I mean, it's going to be a a huge win for all of us. If there's anything I can do to help, if you need sort of a geeky comic book ambassador to help with Comic-Con, I'm a big comic book fan,
Great.
so for the economic value alone to Los Angeles, I want to see it here, but that would be sort of a personal win.
I would, happy to give the chairman a tour of the facility. I'd be happy to sit down and talk to you specifically about that, because
Great.
it's a long shot, but it's a shot we're working.
Yep. Great. Thank you.
On the Bonaventure, did you know that the old Red Cars subway tunnel, which came down by Belmont High School, Glendale, the tunnel was there just a few short years ago. It went in, but when they built the Bonaventure in 1974, they sealed off the subway tunnel, which went to the subway terminal, which is at Hill and 5th Street. So it's funny how they're getting slapped. I attend that term, but it all comes around in the world, you know. Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Another sin, Bud, is you failed to mention the harbor area. Mention Santa Monica, not Venice, and not the harbor area. And unfortunately, we don't have that connector with light rail. Maybe our friends at the MTA can maybe plan that out in the next 30 years or so.
But if you notice in the action plan, we made a point of putting the waterfront project.
Yes, I saw that.
The stuff that you're doing in the harbor is fantastic. That will be good for us in the long haul.
Thank you. What are other major cities, what's their structure like when it comes to their conventions? Is it based around a commission, like what we're proposing today?
You know, and I've been in a lot of departments in a lot of cities, and I don't think I've ever seen anything quite as diverse as how cities handle convention centers. There really is no common model. They're handled a little bit different in every city, but it is not uncommon. In the action plan, we list the cities on privatization of which ones are private and which ones are municipal. Clearly, the trend is with privatization, which, with your committee's guidance, we have embarked on. And they all have some kind of a governance structure which gives them more autonomy. So they're nothing against the city, nothing against the CAO or the CLA, but a lot of them, they're not quite as micromanaged by the CAO's office as they are here. And that's one of the things this governance office does, is it takes the aspects of what used to be done by the CAO vis-a-vis LATCB, vis-a-vis the contract with AEG, and shifts it to the department. And that would be more typical.
Very good. No, I think this is that's great. And Mr. Chair, I appreciate and respect the fact that you want to get boots on the ground to walk through the convention and go through this ordinance or this draft ordinance.
If we get this scheduled early and if it's coordinated, maybe we could have a special meeting on this one item just to move it along. But I don't want to hold it up. But I do want to walk it to visualize it. Anything else, Mr. Booth?
We have 3 new restaurants. I'll buy you lunch.
You don't have to buy me lunch, Joe. I'm Joe. I called you Joe, Bud. I'm having a Bud Joe day. Michael, you complete?
I am complete.
Everybody's complete?
We're going to hold it?
We're going to hold it?
30 days?
Thank you very much, or maybe less if I could schedule it. Thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thanks, Joe.